Hello, everybody. Welcome to the regular business meeting for the District of Squamish for Tuesday, September 3rd. Holland Squallen Quistuktumut Squamish Okmeo. Welcome to the traditional and unceded territory of the Squamish Nation. Please be advised that this council meeting is being live streamed, recorded, and will be available to the public to view on the District of Squamish website following the meeting. If you have concerns, please notify the corporate officer present at the meeting. Could I have someone move adoption of the agenda, please? Moved by Councillor Hamilton, second by Councillor French. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Our first order of business is under delegation, petitions, proclamations is Rail Safety Week. And we have an official from CN joining us, I believe. He's online.
Hi, good afternoon, Your Worship.
Hello.
Councilors, staff, Tyler Banick here from CN's Public Affairs team. How's everyone this evening?
I'm going to answer on behalf of everybody. It's a beautiful day here in sunny downtown Squamish. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, thank you for having me to discuss Rail Safety Week with you. Very near and dear to our hearts. Year after year, we at CN do our best to promote a better understanding and knowledge about the risks of being near railroad tracks. Every year, more than 2,100 North Americans are killed or seriously injured because of unsafe behavior around tracks and trains, and every one of these incidents and deaths are preventable. By looking out for each other and working together, we can help our communities be safe and prevent injuries and fatalities on or near railway property. Over 2 decades, CN has partnered with Operation Lifesaver to raise public awareness about the dangers of crossing and trespassing on railway property. Through collaborative efforts and community engagement, we strive to foster a culture of rail safety and prevent accidents across our network. CN, myself, your district staff, and a few community members have had positive engagements over the last year in efforts to draw awareness to the risks that surround trespassing over a particular rail bridge in your community, crossing over tracks to access trails, parking in close proximity to train tracks, or setting up long-term parking on CN non-operating property. We've seen some good success, and we hope through this requested proclamation to you that you consider adopting and proclaiming September 23rd to 29th Rail Safety Week in your community of Squamish to further solidify your allyship with rail safety.
Okay, thank you so much. Council, do we have any questions for our guests? And we also have a proclamation request here. Councillor French.
Thanks, Mayor. And Mr. Banick, I want to thank you and your CN team for the recent crossing upgrades in Squamish. Has significantly elevated some of the safety concerns that existed with degrading crossings that were definitely in need of improvement, particularly Cleveland Avenue and also Government Road just south of the mile 43 marker, two significant areas that were improved in the last little bit. So I'm just wondering if you might look ahead into the future. Are there any more safety upgrades and safety improvements, crossing improvements that are scheduled for Squamish in the coming months that you could talk about?
Well, I know we want to work with the community, with the district staff on looking at possible additions to proper new crossings, whether it be probably more the pedestrian style, to give the community members better access to some of the green space that you have. So our public works team, I believe, is engaged on that piece. In terms of capital projects for crossing upgrades, we've done or doing, like you said, those 2 crossings. I'm not sure about any more. I don't believe so. We're kind of wrapping up that piece now, and then what we'll look at is to the 2025 season. So if I could circle back to you and provide you any updates, that would be appreciated.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Councillor.
Thank you, Councillor French. Any other questions or, yeah, go ahead, Councillor Hamilton.
I'll move the staff recommendation that September 23rd to 29 be proclaimed as Rail Safety Week in the District of Squamish.
Thank you. I'll second that. Would you like to speak to it?
Yeah, thank you very much for coming out. I think the work that CN does to help pedestrians and cars stay safe around railway tracks is really important. And I think it's really valuable to highlight the partnership that it's important for the community to be informed about safe places to cross. It's also really important for CN to provide safe places for pedestrians and vehicles to cross. So I really look forward to working with you more in the future to provide more safe places for pedestrians and vehicles to cross our railway tracks. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor. Noted.
Thank you. Yeah, just happy to support this motion. I think the the CN rail line runs directly through the entirety of our community. So I think this is of particular interest for us to ensure awareness and safety from everybody involved in that, from CN having important conversations with the community about how they do things, and the community understanding how what their responsibility is, including us as we look to formalize some additional crossings, and how that feeds into land use planning going forward. So I think this is an important conversation, and I think it's so happy to support. Seeing no other hands, I'll call the questions. All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Banick.
Well, thank you, Your Worship, and just a big kudos to your team for the proactive and open communications, and happy to come back at any time to discuss further.
Great. We look forward to the announcements of further capital investments in safety in Squamish. Thank you.
Yeah, have a safe evening. Bye-bye.
Okay. Next we have our own sustainability outreach coordinator, Ms. Wittenzellner, to present to us on Circular Economy Month.
Good evening, everyone. Mayor and Council. My name is Laura Wittenzellner, and I'm the Outreach Sustainability Coordinator on the District Sustainability team. For the past 2 years, the District of Squamish has proudly proclaimed October as the Circular Economy Month, following many years of support for the federal annual Waste Reduction Week initiative. And advancing a local circular economy remains a key priority for the District of Squamish. This commitment is reflected in the Council-endorsed Circular Economy Roadmap and Implementation Plan, as well as a range of projects and initiatives, including the ongoing Circular Economy Trailblazer program, which focuses on fostering innovation among local businesses. The circular economy is not merely about reducing waste at the end of a product's life stage. It is a holistic approach that focuses on optimizing design, minimizing material consumption, maximizing value, and enhancing products and services to extend their usefulness while eliminating waste. The ultimate goal is to keep products, goods, and services in use for as long as possible and at their highest value for as long as possible. During the 2024 Circular Economy Month in October, the district will collaborate with the Squamish Climate Action Network to host several in-person events that embody the principles of the circular economy. These events will include a repair cafe, a clothing and book swap, a kit swap, and a canning workshop for our residents. These activities are not only practical applications of the circular economy, such as sharing, repairing, exchanging, and recycling goods and services, but there are also vital opportunities for education and awareness raising in our community. Through direct community engagement, as well as targeted messaging on social media and in local print news, we aim to further embed these principles within our community in Squamish. These efforts are integral to the district's work under the Community Climate Action Plan, the Zero Waste Action Plan, and the Circular Economy Roadmap. So today, we respectfully request that Council proclaim October 2024 as the Circular Economy Month in the District of Squamish.
Thank you. Council, any questions, or we have an ask here? Go ahead, Councilor Penigo.
Yeah, thank you very much for this. I'll be happy to support it. But before it gets moved, as you're presenting, I just recalled last year, I think Councillor Stoner challenged Council to
can't remember what the exact challenge was. I believe Councillor Greenlaw took the title, and I was looking to I was going to say not win it back, but win it myself. So is there a challenge forthcoming for council? And maybe that's a request to my colleagues to come up with one or to repeat. I guess an open question for council or staff.
Thank you. Through the chair, we'd certainly be happy to help facilitate that and support that.
I think I would welcome a challenge, and I'd be curious to see what staff's perspective of a good way to do that. I know that once it had been in my years in this room, it's been around what the actual waste out was in it, and varies from that to, I think last year was about something where a product's lifespan was extended or something like that. I forget what it was, but I'd be curious to see, and I would welcome that invite from staff to set out that marker. Did you make a motion there of the proclamation, Councillor?
No, I was just sort of, wondering if there was a challenge forthcoming and encourage staff to bring one if there is one prepared, or a council colleague. But yeah, I'm happy to move the motion.
Are you seconding that, Councillor French? Okay, we'll go to Councillor French's question. We'll come back to you. Go ahead, Councillor French.
Thanks, Mayor. I'm just wondering if there was one practical tip for average, everyday people, families in the community to participate in the circular economy. What might that be?
Thank you, through the chair. Great question. I think while the circular economy as a concept helps mitigate overconsumption and production in our economy and in our communities, and it's great for that, I think the core thing would be wondering, do I really need this? Do I need to consume this? Do I actually have to purchase this? And if the answer is yes, how can I go about making that more circular? Can I reuse? Can I repair? Can I borrow? Can I lend? Is this available for the service or item that I'm looking for? And actually, staff is working on something that might be helpful for people in the future in Squamish. We're working on a circular economy asset map for the district of Squamish. So hopefully for the residents here, it'll be easier to find those services and items that are available with those principles in mind soon.
Okay, great. And with that, if there are no other
I've got
questions.
a question from Councillor Greenlaw here, but I think we're going to get there. But go ahead, Councillor Greenlaw.
Well, I have a comment just to build on that. When I was teaching at Quest, one of my students said that their biggest takeaway from the class was when you see something and you ask yourself, can I afford this? Like, not asking yourself from a fiscal sense, can I afford this, but can I environmentally afford this? Like, I think about that a lot when there are single-use items, you know, that you're purchasing and packaging. I actively don't buy a lot of products just because of packaging. And part of it is that mindset of like, environmentally, can you afford this, the legacy of this product, you know? And going back to Councillor Pettingill's, yeah, it's on. And I'm winning again. Just I might be competing against myself, but I'm winning again. Yeah, and I don't know if we need a motion or something for that, but yeah. Keep us in line. Give us a challenge. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go to
Delegating
move
stuff.
the recommendation and I'm hoping for a second from Councillor Pettingill here. And then just thank you so much for the work ongoing with this. And I welcome the opportunity in October to really highlight that. And I'm more than open to, you can tell council's fired up about a competition, but I think that rather than one of us lining up, suggesting what the topic is that may or may not give it an advantage to any particular counselor, we'll look to staff to help us with that, and we can communicate more to the community on that during the month of October. So thank you so much. I'm very happy to support. Any other comments on this? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Councillor Pettingill seconded. So our next order of business is consideration of unscheduled public attendance. This is where if someone has a matter that needs to be before council prior to our next regular business meeting, this will be an opportunity to bring that forward. Seeing none, I'll move on. We have no public hearings or timed items today. So we're on to item 7, which is the consent agenda. If anyone wants anything pulled from the consent agenda, this would be an opportunity to do so. Councillor French.
Yeah, I'd like to pull B, 3 I's. That's the letter from M. Leclerc.
Okay, we'll pull that and deal with that in the appropriate place. Okay, anything else? Okay, with that removed, I'll move the consent agenda if there's a seconder. Second by Councillor French. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We now have bylaws. First three reading, consideration of first three readings, District of Squamish Park Use Bylaw, number 1752, 2003, amendment bylaw number 3101, 2024. I was reading out that long title to give GM of Corporate Services, Bill Stoner, time to get into place. And when he's ready, we'll turn the floor over. The floor is yours.
Wonderful, thank you. As mentioned, Bill Stoner, General Manager of Corporate Services, here today to discuss a park use bylaw amendment, and what we are looking for is this. That's our motion. And the reason this comes about is we reviewed our park use bylaw and recognized that we made a misstep with it, I guess, in 2021. Originally, a park use bylaw gave the director of what was called at that time operations, now called Public Works, the authority to regulate use of the park while it was closed. And then in 2021, we took operating hours out of the park use bylaw, therefore taking out the district any ability to regulate our parks. In addition to that, I'm not sure of the ancient history of this, but there's never been any authority for anyone, council or staff, to regulate our parks at all, except for we do have other bylaws. We have bylaws that regulate pets on leashes. We have bylaws that regulate when you can have campfires, that type of thing. They obviously count in our parks, but as far as actually regulating the actual use of our parks during the day, as far as a good legislative review, we've never had that. So our amendment to this bylaw would be to put back existing authority that the District of Operations, now called the District of Director of Operations, now called the Director of Public Works, has to regulate park use in the evening, but extend it to all hours of the day because there is no more hours of operation. Additionally, when we were looking at this, we also recognized that our park use bylaw needs a more fulsome review. The District of Squamish's is about a page. District of, or however they're called, Victoria's, is about 30 pages. Not to say that more volume equals more quality, but we are missing some elements of our bylaw. So what we're here today to ask is to put back the authority that the Director of, now called Public Works, has to regulate parks. This is until we come back to the council with a more fulsome rewrite of our parks use bylaw, which is always very, very lean, probably should have been more fulsome. at its original inception. And that's all there is, but I'm happy to take questions as they come up.
Thank you. Before we go to questions, I was going to start us off with one of our own. You've mentioned a more fulsome review. Where does that sit in staff's work plans, and when do we have an idea of what that looks like? So that, and I'm hoping this will inform the rest of our conversation to understand the timeline that whatever we decide on this evening will be in place for.
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question. This has really just come to this gap, if you will, has just come to our attention, given current work plans that release, we can look at bringing this back as early 2025. And that's our plan at this moment.
Okay, thank you. So with that in mind, Council, questions for at this point? Go ahead, Councillor Pettingill.
Sorry, I agree with the gap. I just wonder, as part of an interim measure, if it's possible to put any sort of framing language about sort of the objective or the intent of the outcome the director is looking for. So to ensure sort of widespread public enjoyment of the parks or whatever, just even a little bit of constraint. I just have a concern that as drafted, it just is too wide open with no sort of guiding policy. And so I wonder if there's room for just any sort of language in the interim.
I guess multiple answers to that. One is certainly your bylaw. If we would like that in, we can. This is an old bylaw. No one even knew we had the gap. We haven't had, I mean, it's been used reasonably up until this time. We're not changing our director of public works in this next few months. So I don't expect there'll be any change in how we outcome. We can take this back. We can craft some different wording, but I would also hazard that right now we have no one, council or staff, has no real legislative authority to control the use of our parks. It would be nice to get something out there sooner than later, and this is just really copying existing language. But if you want us to take this back and rewrite it, we can do that.
Go ahead, Councillor Hamilton.
Yeah, thanks very much. Completely agree that this gap needs to be filled. I see that this fills the gap in a slightly different way, because it talks about prohibiting recreational use as opposed to authorizing recreational use when it's closed. But I think the broader scope is welcome. The question I have is about delegation of authority. If in an event where, so the question, does the Director of Public Works have unfettered authority on what is prohibited in the recreational areas, or is the Director of Public Works authority fettered by perhaps council discretion?
I would say that the way this was written right now, there's a great deal of authority to the Director of Public Works. I think probably the reason we're coming back with a more fulsome review is the fact that we recognize that there should be council authority. I don't know if Ms. Latimer would like to talk to about what the update might look like as far as park use and if the authorized use, that type of.
Absolutely, yeah,
Right.
through the mayor, Megan Latimer, I'm General Manager of Community Services. So when we're looking at the updated parks use bylaw, we've had a little bit of a jurisdictional scan of what some of the other municipalities have within theirs. And it does vary from municipality to municipality, but in general, it looks at things like the power to designate protected areas within parks where there's, environmentally sensitive areas or endangered endangered plants and species. It could be erecting fencing in different areas, the authority to be able to do that. Some of the bylaws we've looked at do explicitly say which types of activities the director, or in other municipalities, it's the general manager or manager of parks, can designate an area. A lot of the uses that we see in other municipalities are actually already covered in Squamish by other bylaws. So, for example, having campfires or fireworks in different public places. So those are some of the things that we're considering including for council's review when we bring it back in early 2025.
Do you have a follow-up for that?
I'll try to. I don't think I quite got my question answered. Maybe I'll try to rephrase the question more clearly. Would this change in the bylaw, which is an improvement, definitely? Does this allow council to, if desired, direct the director of public works to do something, or is it the director of public works' sole discretion to prohibit or not prohibit activities?
Yeah, at this point, it would be the director of public works sole discretion. Council can always request a tweak or an amendment to the bylaw in the meantime. I think probably going ahead, the update, what we could look at with council is what uses will we be looking at for which parks, which would give council the ultimate authority about how parks are used. We need something to bridge the gap until we get there.
Thank you. I'll come to you, Councillor Pettingill. I was going to have a question of my own. As this relates to when we were discussing this as a council in, I guess, in 2021, which created this challenge that we're having now, one of the drivers was aligning with some court rulings around camping in the temporary structures in parks and so on. And I wondered if the way this reads here, I think that the director of public works may prohibit recreational uses in municipal parks. Does this in any way affect the ability for temporary structures and that sort of thing? Like, is there a moving? Does it give the director of public works the ability to change those other pieces that we discussed that were as part of the I believe it was a Supreme Court ruling in Abbotsford around temporary structures and so on. And I think this was a sort of a driver for this, the most recent amendment. And I'm just wondering about that. This says prohibits recreational uses in municipal parks, not just uses. So is that that feels intentional, or am I not?
I would love to say that was intentional, but it wasn't. But I think you hit on a good point there. It prohibits recreational uses, which shouldn't touch the other thing. And I believe the other things would be covered by a higher level of government as well, that we couldn't overstep that anyway.
Okay, thank you. I'll go back to Councillor Pettingill.
Yeah, maybe a related question. And I don't recall if it was even in the context of Squamish, but I had some discussion a while ago about the right to public assembly in parks and what's automatic. And that is one of my concerns about the way this is written. Would this bylaw, as written, allow someone to prohibit the right to public assembly, or is that sort of automatic regardless of this bylaw change?
I haven't read this bylaw in depth, but these would all be covered by our permit event. Yeah, thank you. Event permitting bylaw. That it's all covered in that already.
So under this scenario, if they had if there was a permit issued under some other regime, then the director of public works would not have the ability to affect that in any way, regardless of what that is. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Go ahead, Councillor Pettingill.
Yeah, and I think as I recall the conversations I had, which is a poor recollection, but it wasn't necessarily in terms of planned events, but it might be sort of a spontaneous reconciliation march or something, and sort of a more spontaneous or protest or that kind of thing. And I'm just sort of nervous to the degree that this sort of might interfere with that kind of thing. And it's just, I would, be great if there was some clarity that no, this isn't the tool that would manage that. It would not be applicable there. If that was a concern, that's a separate discussion and would require other rules to handle that.
Through the mayor, so the right to assembly or the right to protest is a charter protected right, as long as there aren't other implications in terms of public safety, which is often normally more handled by our CMP or bylaw in those cases. Then those rights are protected. This bylaw wouldn't necessarily govern that.
Okay. Any further questions for staff at this point? Are you going to move the staff recommendation, Councillor French? Is there a seconder? Second by Councillor Hamilton. Go ahead.
Thanks, Mayor. With Garibaldi Springs coming to the district of Squamish soon and recently taking over Speckles Feather Park, I think that we need this bridge and we need it at this time until we can take a deeper dive into this bylaw and bring it up to the standard that we know that it needs to be lifted to. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Hamilton.
Yeah, thanks. I'll be supporting the first three readings of the bylaw with the caveat or the advice that I think it's very important that council maintain both the ability and the accountability to direct staff on significant community issues. There's a question of efficiency where the Director of Public Works should not need to come to council for small changes, but for significant community changes, I hope that it would be within the Director of Public Works discretion to request council feedback on things so that council can take accountability for actions rather than passing it off to staff, passing the accountability off to staff. Thanks.
Thank you. Other comments? Councillor Pettingill, I can see your.
Yeah, I guess I'm considering proposing an amendment just to make it supportable for me. So I guess I will test the change that the Director of Public Works may prohibit recreational uses of a municipal park or specified area of a municipal park and impose terms and conditions on such use by posting signage, yada, yada, to ensure safe and fair public access of the park. And I will speak to it if seconded.
You're seconding that? Okay. We may need it in writing, but continue.
And so my only thought here is, again, I even though this is quite vague and open, I'm just uncomfortable delegating this authority with absolutely no policy, no statement of what the objective of this delegation is, what we're trying to achieve. And so I think understanding that something more fulsome is coming, I think I'm more comfortable with this as a bridge, just with at least some level of like, why are we doing this? What is the intended outcome? And then we can sort of, if it's out of line with that, have a bit more of a debate. There's a bit more, bit more framing of a debate if we need to have one. And so I just feel more comfortable with a bit of that qualifier in there.
Okay. Anyone else? Go ahead.
I support the amendment. I think that clarity improves the intent of our parks, which are intended for safe public use. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go to Councillor Greenlaw, and if you could get the Yeah, if you guys could coordinate getting it for the exact wording for the record, that would be helpful. But go ahead, Councillor Greenland.
I was gonna ask Councillor Pengill to repeat the amendment, so I'll wait a second.
So basically just adding on to the proposed amendment to ensure safe and fair access to parks. And you may need to fix a plural or something in there.
Okay. Do you have a comment on that now that we have clarity on the wording?
No, I think I think that makes sense. I share the concerns that you two both have, Councillor Hamilton and Councillor Pengill. I think that addresses a lot of them. Thanks.
I'll support the motion. I think there's other. However, I do think that there's other pieces of work that really that set the goals for the overall use of our parks. But I also don't see this language impeding anything. So I'm happy to support the amendment. I'll call the question. All in favor? Motion carries. So back to the main motion as amended. Any other comments on that? I'm speaking in favor of the motion. I think it's important that somebody has the ability to regulate what happens in our parks, and it's I'm happy that we've spotted this and addressed it in this way, and but I will acknowledge that there's more work to be done here, and we're hearing from our staff that work will be underway, and will come back to us in a relatively short time frame. And I look forward to a more fulsome discussion around park use. With that, I'll call the question. All in favor? And opposed? Motion carries. Sorry, did you have a comment to add? I can give you a comment after we've just passed it, but sorry, did you have something on this?
Yeah, I'll just say quickly, I think as we move forward, our parks, as we increase in density and there's more people living closer together, making sure that parks are working well for people and that there's some level still of public autonomy in these public spaces is going to be some more important. It's not an easy problem to solve. And these are the things I sort of have in my mind thinking towards the rewrite. And so it's going to be maybe challenging, but there's some important things to consider as we move forward with this. And thank you for catching this.
Okay, yeah, thank you for that. Now we've got some adoptions that we don't, as per normal policy, we don't have any presentations for adoption. So first is the housing agreement for Garibaldi Springs P1 non-market housing. Moved by Councillor Hamilton, second by Councillor French. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. And then similarly, the District of Squamish zoning bylaw, amendment bylaw for 38123 Cleveland Avenue. Moved by Councillor French, seconded by Councillor Hamilton. All in favor? Any opposed? Councillor Greenlaw opposes. Motion carries. Thank you. And now we're on to development permit number 617 for 2027 Finch Drive. I will turn it over to staff when you're ready. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor Herford. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Brian Daly, planner with Community Development. I'm here tonight to present a development permit application at 2027 Finch Drive. At the July 12th, 2022 regular council meeting, bylaw number 2811-2021 was adopted. This rezoned the subject property from RS1 to comprehensive development zone number 101 to facilitate the development of 4 apartment buildings, 18 townhomes, and 20 duplexes. The 2.9 hectare property is located at the top of the new eastern extension of Finch Drive and is adjacent to 20 duplexes and 18 townhomes that are currently under construction. The apartment buildings represent the final phase of the development and are located to the east of the duplexes and townhomes fronting Finch Drive. This slide shows the site plan for the overall development. The AP3 and AP4 buildings, which are the subject of this development permit, are located at the top of the site above the duplexes and townhomes. This DP application seeks to establish the form and character for two apartment buildings, one containing 61 units, the AP3 building, and the other containing 62 units, the AP4 building. The proposal meets the CD 101 zoning, and the buildings are both 22.5 meters in height. Parking also meets the requirements of the CD 101 zone. Parking stalls for both buildings are provided in underground parkades, accessed from Solar Way. A strata park is located to the west of the AP3 apartment building, which includes a playground, lawn area, and seating. The strata park is located adjacent to the common outdoor amenity space for the AP3 building. A public access right-of-way over the strata park was secured as a part of the rezoning application. Common outdoor amenity space for the AP4 building is provided at the rear of the building, adjacent to the shared indoor amenity space for that building. The architecture mirrors the materiality and patterning of forest and rock, with the building faces blending into the natural environment surrounding them. The form is staggered on multiple levels. This positions the buildings along the municipal road and access drive while creating a semi-private park outlook to the west. A minimal color palette of green, wood tones, and dark charcoal echo the natural colors of the forest and rock outcrops. Where concrete is in use at its base, it meets the ground plane with a variety of trees and understory vegetation. Finally, a stepped back building gives relief to break down the overall massing and helps the buildings to feel grounded in their sites and in relation to the materials of the adjacent buildings and forested hillside above. The landscaping is integrated with the wetland ecology, and the landscape design makes use of native plantings to soften the walls and edges of the sloped site. The bird and pollinator-friendly design extends the support of the planted environment to the non-human residents of the site, supporting a resilient biodiverse ecology. This development permit was presented at the June 20th, 2024 ADP meeting. ADP reviewed the project and provided the recommendations shown on this slide. Staff believe the applicant's response to the comments are sufficient and consistent with the DPA 3 guidelines. To inform the community per policy, the project was posted to the district's development showcase and a development sign has been posted at the site. No comments or requests for a public information meeting have been received to date. Given that the proposal meets the DPA 3 guidelines, staff recommend approval of DP 617. That concludes my presentation. I'm happy to take questions at this time.
Thank you. Council, questions? We also have a staff recommendation for us, if that's where we are. Councillor Hamilton.
Yeah, I'll move the staff recommendation.
Second by Councillor French. Would you like to speak to it?
Thanks very much. I think this DP is quite clear. Considering it certainly in my read, also meets the guidelines. I think that this just makes sense to move forward with.
Thank you. Go ahead, Councillor French.
Thank you. Everything in the staff report looks good to me. This is a broader, bigger project that we've already invested a significant amount of time, thought, energy, and effort into. So let's get on with it. We need this housing.
Thank you. Do you have a comment? Yep, Councillor Prendergast.
Yeah, I will be supporting this. This is one, though, that has caused me a lot of challenge. I think back when the approvals, we were uncertain about where Fortis would land, at least I was. And the project itself seems like a really good project, but as Fortis and Woodfibre have come further along, I'm more concerned about the proximity to this massive pipeline. And I sometimes don't sleep well at night thinking about whether we should have approved this. Again, it's not a knock against the development itself, but our zoning for this level of density next to this pipeline with the, frankly, lack of information we have from Fortis. I don't, as I understand our provincial rules, I don't have the tools to deny a DP. Don't really want to punish the developer here. But I think this level of development, until we have more certainty about risk next to that pipeline, is really problematic, unfortunately. And hope the province will start taking these matters more seriously. And I think we're going to have to in our zoning as well as we think about where that pipeline is going and what the impacts could be and what our understanding of that is. So I will, I guess, reluctantly support this. Again, it's not a comment against the development itself, really, but some of the context around it. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll be supporting the motion. I think the development permit really is about meeting some very clear criteria that this clearly has. So I think issuing the development permit is the appropriate course of action. So happy to support. And with that, oh, go ahead. Sorry, Councillor Greenlaw, I missed that.
No, I came in late. Yeah, I was just going to speak in support of the motion just because this project's been on the books for a long time. Actually, speaking to this developer, they were one of the first people that I spoke to. But I do share the concerns that were voiced by Councillor Pettengill. It is disconcerting that we don't have that kind of hazard assessment information. And it's disconcerting that it won't be given to us either. But yeah, thanks.
Okay, so I'll call the question. All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. We don't have any late agenda items. We do have and we have no correspondence action requested, but we do have correspondence referred from the consent agenda, which was item B3. That's my note, which is the Fortis letter. So 7B3. And Councillor French would like to speak to it.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This letter is from Mike Leclerc, the Vice President of Major Projects and LNG with Fortis BC. He's asking if a temporary use permit can be decided upon before Wednesday, September the 25th. And just wondering if staff might outline what is preventing us from making a decision on this TUP any sooner than September the 25th. I'm thinking Mr. Valaniskas might be able to shed some light on it for us.
Thank you. Through the mayor, as any development application, especially when it's a variance of the zoning bylaw, we have certain steps that we district or any local government has to go through, which is advertising the permit, preparing the final version of the permit and the staff report. So at this point, given that we are anticipating one more trip to the committee of the whole with the temporary use permit application, I think just before September 25th is probably the earliest possible at this point.
Okay, and in the letter, Leclerc commits Fortis BC to preparing a memo for district staff summarizing a desktop analysis to determine applicable mitigations related to hydrogeological testing and monitoring in the proposed workforce accommodation area. Has that desktop analysis been received by district staff? Do you know?
I can't comment on that just because we don't have the staff in the room that are actually working on the application.
Okay, I have anticipated that might be the case. And so at this point, I just want to do a check-in and make sure that we're moving forward with realistic expectations around timing on this. There's no sense in my mind wasting everybody's time on a process that's going to take longer than 11 weeks. So 11 weeks where that comes from, knowing that we know and understand what needs to be done between now and November the 15th. I'd like to know if district staff believe all necessary development and building permits realistically can be in place in the time frame through to November 15th as Fortis BC is setting out in their letter.
Through the chair, it's really hard to answer that question on the spot. We are aware of the deadline that Fortis has referenced, and we're looking at whether that's possible. But we can't guarantee that that is going to be possible to get all the permits. You know, it's going to depend on the quality of the information that we receive, the permits in queue. There's a lot of variables, and it's certainly a tight turnaround time.
I just want to caution council, we're getting into very speculative space where the first piece is consideration of the permit, and then we're getting into like the knock-ons of that, and it really depends on what the if that's if the permits are approved and what those conditions are and so on. So I don't think that I see the point that where you're going in general, but I don't see I don't think it's appropriate to continue down this this direction at this time without knowing what that sort of next step is. I can speak to the timelines. We have a date of the meeting of the 10th is tentatively yet to be confirmed, but that's the next the Fortis the TUP discussion will come to committee of the whole there, and then a public hearing subsequent on the 25th. So we're from an agenda planning perspective, I think we're there with their or thereabouts with their timelines. And I'll remind everyone, including council, that every proponent ever that I've engaged with has been challenged with timelines, and we always push to do what we can to meet everyone's needs, including our own as a council and as staff for review and consideration. And I think we've done that in this case as well.
Those are all the questions that I had, and unless anybody else on council, okay.
I have another question here, or comment, so I'll go to Councillor Pettingill.
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight in the context of this that in my estimation, both Fortis and Woodfibre have had unrealistic expectations of our capacity to meet the deadlines that they want over and above most proponents. And I've seen our staff move heaven and earth, and council has endorsed it, but to a level that I've been uncomfortable with, given that this project is not driving our strategic goals. It's not putting forward where council has said we want to focus, and yet this is taking up an enormous amount of our focus. It's not something we can afford to ignore, which is why it's gotten the attention it has. But as much as they want to complain, they have no right to complain about not getting due attention, because they've been getting more attention than anyone else, as far as I can tell. And you know, I understand they want what they want. Woodfibre, their partner, has clearly articulated a lot of challenges that are critical to resolve with the work camp. I have not seen Fortis address those seriously, and they're wanting an accelerated timeline while ignoring things that their partner seems to think are quite important. Now, what that means, I don't know, but I have a real challenge with their demands and their lack of attention to our community priorities, because that's our job, to focus on the community. And so I'll get off my soapbox. But
yeah, I'm going to suggest that I'll move receipt of this, and then if looking for a seconder, Councillor French, and I'll just add that this topic's going to consume a fair chunk of our time in September, and as the schedule's laid out in our agenda planning, there is opportunity, should council decide to support the TUP, to at least hit the first part of this timing piece from the proponent. But that's a huge if, for all those reasons, not limited to where Councillor Pettingill is coming from, and others. So we make sure that we keep the horse before the cart on this and move towards engaging with that subject, which we will on the 10th and the 25th, if I remember my dates correctly. So this is coming at us quickly, and we'll get to whatever the resolution is, either hitting or very close to the timeline that they're asking for there. Whether that's, and we'll see what that looks like when we get there, but that's what's happening now. Any other comments on this piece? We'll have lots of opportunities to comment in future on things adjacent to this letter. So we'll just, I'll call the question there. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for the answers you were able to provide, Mr. Vilniskis. So next, we had no minutes referred, no business arising from minutes, no committee minutes. Any notice of motion, council? Seeing none. We have a staff Council staff in-camera announcement. It's on the agenda for everybody to see. We had no unscheduled public attendance. This is open question period, clarification related to agenda items. Is there anybody in the audience that has a question for us about anything they've heard today? Seeing none, we'll move to council or staff announcements. Anybody want to get us? Looking at you, Councillor French. You're always good for an update or two. Yeah, go ahead.
I wonder if that'll be on my tombstone. Always had an announcement at the end of council meetings. The annual Terry Fox Run is scheduled for the morning of Sunday, September 15th at Brennan Park. Most people will head out just after 10 o'clock. There will be some speaking and welcome from the Squamish Nation. And then so that'll start at 10. So shortly after, once those proceedings are done, that's when the bulk of the people participating will head out to the Adventure Center and back. This is the first year the event is being organized by a group of enthusiastic event planners who have taken this over after a hiatus last year. They're very enthusiastic. They're super keen. And from what I've seen, been doing a great job getting the word out. I'm collecting donations for the Terry Fox Foundation to fund cancer research. So if you're looking for an avenue to contribute, talk to me. I can send you the link for donating.
Okay, thank you. Any other updates? Go ahead, Councillor Penigill.
Well, just some of the things that happened, and maybe we can't list everything, but just logger sports. It was my first time being, I guess I did the bike valet last year. I was more sort of an internal volunteer, I guess I'll say, this year. And it was a incredible experience. And the number of community members and the amount of time they dedicated was just incredible. And just a fantastic event. And thank you to Acting Mayor Hamilton for a great MC job. Well, I guess not MC, but intro, and Mayor Herford for running the show. It was really fun to be part of. Also got to be part of the Arts Fest over 2 weekends, which was again fantastic music. A whole bunch of the community came out. Part of it at the oceanfront. Just huge success, and really exciting to see all that activation of our parks and people out enjoying Squamish in the summer. Another fantastic season for Ampton the Park, and it's always sad when that finishes. And I guess it's basically just left me really excited about Squamish and how arts and community and celebration and culture is flourishing here, and can't wait to see as that gets bigger and better.
Thank you. Any other updates? I'll have a few of my own. Squamish Days was kicked us off. To me, the council doesn't meet in August, as some people may know. So the August long weekend is sort of the start of that and what feels like summer in this role. So Squamish Days, everything from the Thursday of the kettle boil all the way through to the Monday night, which is the volunteers dinner, was just great to see the community come together. And a lot of people don't understand what it takes to or all the moving pieces. And really, Squamish Days is so many service groups in the community coming together to run an event and to share in the workload of running the event, and also in the funds raised. So when we think about Squamish Days, as we think about the Logger Sports Show, and that is a big part of it, but there's a lot of other events happening. And if you think of the Rotary Beef Barbecue, that sells out and is just been a staple of that event. It's run by the Rotary, but they don't just pocket the funds that they raise for their own initiatives. It actually all those funds go into a pool and is redistributed around amongst all the service groups that make various events happen. And some of those events don't generate funds, or some of those duties that these service groups take on don't generate funds. Like the curling club does the security, and doesn't generate funds, but by providing that service, they become a part of it and actually receive a payout for doing that. So this actually supports quite a lot of service clubs in the community in a way that not many communities truly come together in the way that this organization brings the community together. So great to be a part of that, and to see the size of the crowds, and yeah, particularly on Sunday for the sort of the main event of the Logger Sports Show. Really a full-on enthusiastic, sold-out crowd to come and see what the competitors can do. So thank you to everybody that was involved in that, including Councillor Pettingill this year, and Councillor Hamilton for I like keeping it clear which hat I'm wearing, so I don't deliver the mayor's remarks, even though I'm the MC of the event, and the acting mayor this time around was Councillor Hamilton, who did a great job of delivering those remarks. Then I can keep mine to like just chirping people and keeping the event moving. The Squamish Arts Festival was amazing, including the Squamish Feather Park Shakedown, which was the event that happened on I guess that'd be Saturday night and also served sort of as the grand opening really of Squamish Feather Park. And I have to say, as I was going down to the festival, the Squamish 50 was happening at the same time, which has an amazing atmosphere, and the finish line was in full flight as people were finishing, and is a big festival atmosphere, and vendor tents and everything really happening. Across the street was the event was happening in the oh no, I should know what that's called. In the sort of the food truck space. I forget what they're calling it now, but the plaza had music going, and it was just bumping. And then I rode my bike down to the oceanfront that was also going off. So Squamish was just an incredibly busy place and celebratory place at that time. It was really an amazing weekend, and I have to say that Squamish Feather Park in music festival mode is really something to behold. And as much as it was packed, I think once Instagram gets a hold of of the images coming out of there, it's, as much as this year was a massive success, I think it's only going to grow down there for this particular weekend, and of course in general, as it's an amazing facility. Yes, the Amped in the Park series formed a big part of my summer as well on Thursday nights. It was great to see live music, and always sad to see it go, as it sort of signals a changing of the seasons. But was wonderful. Every week was something different and amazing. But in the same space, just on Friday, there was an event for Overdose Awareness and Prevention Day, and it's been an event. I guess it started maybe last year. It was very small, just like in front of our OPS site here, and this year it really was an opportunity for all of the folks that are working on this very important issue in our community to come together, and that's really what it served as. So there is not-for-profit entities that are all kind of working on pieces of this, and it was great to see them all together. And in some cases, they didn't even know that was happening. And I think that as folks do this work on this very important area, it can be very emotionally, they're trying to keep people alive on a daily basis. So I think it often feels lonely, is what I hear from them. So great to see everyone sort of come together and realize that there's lots of people working on the same problem. They were giving training for naloxone training. If you haven't had an opportunity to do that, there was an opportunity there. And if you are interested in that, we can coordinate that happening for you. But it was great to see all of the people that are truly working on this come together, including people with lived experience, and then the community, of course, engaging with them. It was, it was a great yeah, it was a really powerful experience there on Friday. And then looking forward, this weekend, Brackendale Fall Fair. It's one of my favorites, and I'm really looking forward to that event. That's on Saturday. That does also align with the Grand Fondo, so plan your travel accordingly. Bikes seem like a pretty popular choice for getting around on that day. It looks like we'll have some good weather for it. And also, there's on Sunday there's an event, sort of grand opening of the dirt jumps in behind the casino as well. So that'll be happening on Sunday. And exact details are out there somewhere. But that's sort of a look ahead as to the next couple things that are happening. And then of course, followed the following weekend by the Terry Fox Run. So lots of things happening, and it's great to be back at the table and a little slightly refreshed with, despite all those events, having a little bit of downtime in there as well too, which is much needed. So do you have a, okay, so we're not looking for motion to close, but I would be looking for motion to terminate. Is this something you're interested in providing us, Councillor Hamilton?
Yeah, I would like to put forward a motion to terminate, please.
Okay, is there a seconder for this? Go ahead, Councillor Greenlaw. All in favor? No one opposed that. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you so much. And a little bit earlier, we were in a closed meeting, which we recessed. So we need to reset the room for close, and we'll finish up our closed meeting, and then we're done for the day. So thank you, but stay tuned for the restart of our closed meeting. I don't think we need a link. No, we don't need to log on.